So in this chapter, we're getting a few reveals, such as Hawk's backstory and how the whole Best Jeanist dead body Dabi trickery stuff went down. But first, let me go into that because it's something I've been curious about ever since Best Jeanist came back into the story, because for I don't know, a year, we were unsure if he was alive or dead. So back in chapter 231, Hawks was still trying to convince the League of Villains, mainly Dabi, that he was defecting from the heroes and he was going to join the Liberation Army. And at that point, Hawks is talking on the phone to Dabi, and Dabi says, "You're gonna prove your loyalty not just to the League, but to the whole anti-establishment cause. So take someone out, someone other than number one." And then it cuts to Hawks showing up at Best Jeanist's apartment. And this might have been the first time, or one of the first times, that we saw Best Jeanist in the story after he got blasted in the chest by All For One back at the whole Camino thing. And they have a little back and forth chit chat, and Best Jeanist reveals that he lost a lung in his fight with All For One. And then Hawks is "Is that so? That's too bad." And then he pulls his feather sword out. And at the time, it seemed like there might have been a chance that Hawks legitimately was taking out Best Jeanist to prove his allegiance to Dabi. You know, going that far as to kill a hero, especially Best Jeanist, just for the ultimate greater good of, taking down the League of Villains, from inside out. So a couple chapters later in 240, we see Hawks meet up with Dabi, and he has this bag with him, and they unzip the bag, and inside of it is the body of Best Jeanist. And Dabi says, "Whether this is really him or not, clearly you actually killed someone." And it was at this point where we, the fandom, really didn't know what was going on at this point. I mean, a lot of us assumed that maybe there was some kind of trickery going on here, maybe some other ancillary hero's Quirk duplicated his body, or they did something. But like I said, we're getting the full reveal in this chapter as to what actually transpired in this sequence. So according to Best Jeanist, he underwent a surgical procedure that put him in a death-like state, inspired by the Nomus. And then Hawk says, "Luckily the surgery was a success, and I delivered your dormant body to Dabi." As we just talked about, he wanted to check that there really was a dead body. Since it was as real as could be, Dabi full-heartedly believed in your death, and I passed with flying colors. I had suggested storing you with other bodies in case they felt the need to use yours. That way you would have been preserved in a facility where air could reach you. But really, you'd secretly be brought back to life at the right time. So yeah, as they said, that was really Best Jeanist's body in that bag, and he was stored, in a cooler or something, with the cover of them possibly using him as a Nomu candidate later on, I suppose. And then off panel, Hawks was able to go down there, retrieve Best Jeanist, and then I guess give him back to the heroes. We eventually saw him wind up in that plane and, try to restrain Gigantomachia and all that stuff. So yeah, quite the risky plan, but I mean, it paid off, so. But now that we got that out of the way, let's go into the other stuff in this chapter, such as Hawk's backstory. So it appears that Hawks came from a broken home, and that his parents were just really bad people. The dad more so than the mom. His dad is also apparently a hitman for hire, and I think he's also a thief, because back in chapter 250, when we're introduced to that ending villain that randomly attacked Endeavor, because of, Dabi's cohorts, he says he first saw Endeavor after he had captured a thief named Takami. So going all the way back then, this was a little Easter egg referring to Hawks' dad. And we kind of see that happen in this chapter, because there's a moment where his mom's he got caught attempting to steal a car and fleeing, and it was Endeavor who got him. And this goes back to the thief Takami. He's trying to get a car in this instance. Speaking of Endeavor, this chapter also sets up why Hawks has such admiration for him, mainly because he grew up watching heroes on TV like many other characters in this series. He's watching All Might, watching Endeavor, but also that Endeavor doll that we've always seen associated with Hawks whenever we flash back to his childhood, that was apparently given to him by his mom. But also, as we're seeing here, Endeavor, straight up captured his dad, essentially saving Hawks from his dad, since his dad was, not so good towards little Hawks. But after Hawks' dad is captured, his mom takes him, and they go on the run, and things aren't really working out too well for them. And eventually gets to the point where his mom goes to the Public Safety Commission, and they put them in, I guess, the witness protection program. At least that's the way that it seems, where they say they'll take care of Hawks, and in exchange for your full support, you'll need to cut ties to your life as Takami and live new lives. So I guess this is setting up like how Hawks entered into that secret training program that we've seen him in, you know, a few times in flashback. And also why he is tied to the Public Safety Commission and gets like those secret undercover missions that, you know, typically the other heroes wouldn't get. So another thing happening in this chapter is we're seeing the fallout of the big reveals in the war, like when Dabi was using Skeptic to broadcast all of their dirt with the Endeavor and the Hawks stuff. It seems like the public really hasn't taken that lightly, because we see like this random villain gang like revolting as Best Jeanist and Hawks are like driving to Hawks' mom's house. And then Best Jeanist like quickly takes care of them. And then he asks the people in the vicinity, he's like, you know, where are the police? Where are the heroes? And they're like, the police are too busy dealing with the recent jailbreaks. And as soon as all of the heroes got that criticism, they all closed up their agencies and ran with their tails between their legs. So yeah, this is referring to the multiple prison breaks that we saw in the previous chapter. And then the hero agencies closing from the criticism, that's from the Dabi, Skeptic, you know, Endeavor, and Hawks stuff. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be mapping out where the series is headed after this point. Because like Hero Society and also the Public Safety Commission, they're like crumbling right now, because we saw that a lot of their head people were attacked by Redestro, or at least the clone of Redestro. So things are extremely shaky for like the good guy side of things in this series. But once Best Jeanist and Hawks make it to Hawks' mom's house, it's revealed that she's not there anymore and that she left a note saying that, like, you know, some people came to interrogate her and she didn't want to be a bother anymore, so she just left. And then Hawks deduces that, oh, this was like Dabi, you know, getting information out of her. And this is, I guess, confirming how Dabi knew what Hawks' name was, because when they were fighting during the war, you know, he straight up called Hawks by like Keigo Takami. And that's when we got that whole moment where, you know, Hawks was like, how do you know my name? It's like, who are you? And then Dabi says, you know, I'm Toya Todoroki, except at that time it was just a black text bubble. And then a lot of us speculated at that point that, oh, maybe that means that Toya was also a part of like that secret child training program. But now it seems like that's probably debunked. I mean, maybe that still could be true, but the information that we're getting right here is pointing in the direction that Dabi just knew that because he got the information from his mom. But that raises a few questions, because even Hawks himself is like, how did he even get this far? Because like they went into the witness protection program and their name was erased from Takami and all that stuff. So how did Dabi know? Does this go back to there being a traitor or a mole or something? Or Toya maybe was still a part of that child stuff? I don't know, but I'm sure there's more to this storyline that will come to the surface later. Then we come to the end of the chapter where Hawks is basically saying that he's going to try to save Endeavor from being canceled by Twitter. Because like we just talked about, those hero agencies are closing from criticism, and Endeavor is like public enemy #1 with all of that criticism stuff. So Hawks is going to try to do something to save his public image or something, I guess, but then we also see like these bulges coming out of Hawks' back. Another thing coming out of the war is that it seemed like Hawks was going to be quirkless, because in his fight with Dabi, his wings were essentially like burned off. But before this, it seemed like only his feathers were able to regenerate. But I guess this is either saying that Dabi didn't burn off his whole entire wing, or maybe he can also regenerate like the appendage with the feathers or whatever, possibly. But either way, I'm thinking this means that Hawks is probably going to come back to full form eventually, and he won't be like the next Mirio. But that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Let me know what you think about this chapter in the comments. If you liked the video, please give it a like, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.